Om Agyan Timarandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurakam Gurganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govindabhidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Mande Vishwa Gurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanam Suchandavaranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sareka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Sarasatanam Baram Mandetam Shubhanam Mareka Sharanam Yashishvara Sridharam Mansya Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyebhascha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is Adi-lila, Chapter 7, Lord Chaitanya and 5 features. This chapter deals with the Pancha-tattva. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, and Sri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktivinoda. So, Tapan, this is verse number 46. Tapan Mishra Gare Bhikka Nirvahan Sanyasera Sanginahi Mani Himantran. As a matter of principle, Lord Chaitanya regularly accepted his food at the house of Tapan Mishra. He never mixed with other sannyasis, nor did he accept invitations from them. So Mahaprabhu is in Varanasi, or Benares, some old name. Actually, the original name is Varanasi. Not the Muslims changed it to Benares, but it's actually Varanasi. So as a matter of principle, Lord Chaitanya regularly accepted his food at the house of Tapan Mishra. He never mixed with other sannyasis, nor did he accept invitations from them, because the other sannyasis are mayavadi sannyasis, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't mix with them. He just stays with Chandrasekhar, and he stays there, and he takes his meals at the house of Tapan Mishra. And both of them are very good devotees. Sanatana Gosayadi Tatai Milila Tara Shikalagi Prabhu Dumasha Rohila. When Sanatana Goswami came from Bengal, he met Lord Chaitanya at the house of Tapan Mishra, where Lord Chaitanya remained continuously for 2 months to teach him devotional service. Tarishakaila Saha Vaishnavare Dharma Bhagavat Hari Shastra Jataguda Marma Tarishakaila Saha Vaishnavara Dharma Bhagavat Hari Shastra Jataguda Marma. On the basis of scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, which reveal these confidential directions, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Sanatana Goswami regarding all the regular activities of a devotee. So Sanatana Goswami is a Sambandha guru. So he's Sambandha, or Sambandha Abhideyam Prayoja. Sambandha means the initiating spiritual master is to instruct the disciple on the practices of pure devotional service, and also to explain which practices should not be or not favorable to devotional service. So that's called Sambandha. And Abhideya Guru means that instruction, the Abhideya means engaged in Bhakti. Bhakti is a practice of devotional service. So Sambandha means you understand what constitutes pure Bhakti and what to reject as being impure. Abhideya means to be engaged in devotional service, and Prayojana is to know what is the goal, which is Krishna Prema, love of Godhead. So on the basis of scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam, which reveal these confidential directions, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Sanatana Goswami regarding all the regular activities of a devotee. He was instructing him to how to present sambandha, the instructions for how to proceed in devotional service. Iti madhye chandrasekhar mishra tapan duke hoya prabhupada koila nivedan. Well, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was instructing Sanatana Goswami. Both Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra became very unhappy. Therefore, they submitted an appeal unto the lotus feet of the Lord. They're unhappy because they're living in Varanasi and they're hearing so many persons headed by the mayavadi sannyasis. They're all criticizing Mahaprabhu as being a sentimentalist, as being a fanatic of just singing and dancing and non-engaged, as what they perceive to be the duties of a sannyasi to study Vedanta Sutra. So all these people are criticizing Mahaprabhu and Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar. They don't like to hear all the criticism of Mahaprabhu. Kateka Shuniba Prabhu Tomaraninda Napare Sahite Ebe Chariba Jivan. How long can we tolerate the blasphemy by your critics against your conduct? We should give up our lives rather than hear such blasphemy. Tomare nindaye jata sannyase ragan shunite na pare fate hridoya shravan. The mayavadi sannyasis are all criticizing your holiness. We cannot tolerate hearing such criticism, for this blasphemy breaks our hearts. Iha shuni rohe prabhu ishad hasiya se kale ek vipra milila asiya. When Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar were thus talking with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he only smiled slightly and remained silent. At that time a Brahmin came there to meet the Lord. So while they're telling Mahaprabhu they can't tolerate hearing all this blasphemy against him, by the Lord's arrangement, a Brahmin came there and is to meet with the Lord. So Ashi Nivedana Kore Charana Charane Dariya Ekvastu Magon Deho Prasana Hoya. The Brahmin immediately fell at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and requested him to accept his proposal in a joyful mood. Sakala Sannyasi Mui Koinuni Mantran Tumi Adi Aisha Purna Hoy Moraman. My dear Lord, I have invited all the sannyasis of Benares to my home. My desires will be fulfilled if you also accept my invitation. So this Brahmin is actually a devotee, and he very much appreciates Mahaprabhu. Now he said he's invited all the sannyasis, which means all these mayavadi sannyasis. He's invited them to his home, and he also wants Mahaprabhu to attend. So normally, previously it said Mahaprabhu didn't mix with any of the sannyasis in Varanasi, but here, as something different is happening, where this Brahmin is inviting Mahaprabhu to come to his house, and he's also invited all the mayavadi sannyasis. So this is something out of, not according to Mahaprabhu's normal agenda, but he will accept this invitation and we'll hear why. My dear Lord, I have invited all the sannyasis of Benares to my home. My desire will be fulfilled if you also accept my invitation. Naja sannyasi goshti iha amijani more anugraha kora nimantranamani. My dear Lord, I know that you never mixed with other sannyasis, but please be merciful unto me and accept my invitation. Prabhu Hasini Mantrana Koila Angikar Sanyasire Kripa Lagi E Bangidahar. Lord Chaitanya smiled and accepted the invitation of the Brahmin. He made this gesture to show his mercy to the mayavadi sannyasis. Tapan Mishra and Chandrasekhar appealed to the lotus feet of the Lord regarding their grief at the criticism of him by the sannyasis in Benares. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu merely smiled, yet he wanted to fulfill the desires of his devotees, and the opportunity came when the Brahmin came to request him to accept his invitation to be present in the midst of the other sannyasis. This coincidence was made possible by the omnipotence of the Lord. Sevipra janena prabhu na jana karagare tahara prera naya tare atugraha kore. The Brahmin knew that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never went to anyone else's house. Yet due to inspiration from the Lord, he earnestly requested him to accept this invitation. Aradini Gela Prabhu Sevipra Bhavane Dekilena Basid Jachin Sanyasiragane. The next day, when Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the house of that Brahmin, he saw all the sannyasis of Benares or Varanasi sitting there. Sab namaskari gela para prakalane para prakalana kore basila sestane. As soon as Mahaprabhu saw the sannyasis, he immediately offered obeisances, and then he went to wash his feet. After washing his feet, he sat down at the place where he had done so. So he went to wash his feet before going inside, but instead of proceeding, he just sat down where he washed his feet. So that is unusual, and normally that place would not be considered so clean. So why would Mahaprabhu sit there? Vasya Kori Lakichu Aishvarya Prakash Mahatejo Maya Vapu Koti Suryabas. After sitting on the ground, Lord Chaitanya exhibited his mystic power by manifesting an effulgence as brilliant as the illumination of millions of suns. So he's sitting in an unclean place, and then he just manifests so much effulgence that no one can not notice this. Very Prabhave Akarshila Sab Sanyasi Raman Utila Sanyasi Sab Chariya Asan. When the sannyasis saw the brilliant illumination of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their minds were attracted, and they all immediately gave up their sitting places and stood in respect. Prakashananda Name Sarva Sannyasi Pradhan Prabhuke Gohila Kichu Korea Saman. The leader of the mayavadi sannyasis present was named Prakashananda Saraswati, and after standing up, he addressed Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as follows with great respect. Ihan Aisha Samaha Sripad Apavitra Stani Vaisha Kiba Abasad. Please come here, your holiness. Why do you sit in that unclean place? What has caused your lamentation? Prabhu Kohe Ami Hoi Hina Sampradaya Toma Sabaras Sabaya Basite Najujaya. The Lord replied, I belong to a lower order of sannyasis. Therefore, I do not desire to sit. No, the Lord replied, I belong to a lower order of sannyasis. Therefore, I do not deserve to sit with you. Apane Prakashananda Hatate Darya Basaila Saba Madhye Samana Korea. Prakashananda Saraswati, however, caught Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally by the hand. He grabbed Mahaprabhu personally by the hand and seated him with great respect in the midst of the assembly. The respectful behavior of Prakashananda Saraswati towards Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very much to be appreciated. Such behavior is calculated to be agyata sukriti, or pious activities, that one executes unknowingly. Thus Mahaprabhu very tactfully gave Prakashananda Saraswati an opportunity to advance in agyata sukriti so that in the future he might actually become a Vaishnava sannyasi. So by doing that, Prakashananda comes over, offers some nice words to Mahaprabhu, then takes him by the hand to bring him in the assembly of the sannyasis. So by engineering that incident, Mahaprabhu is giving agyata sukriti, or some unknown good benefit by acting in that way towards Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu came there, washed his feet and sat down in an clean place, and then the leader of the sannyasis, Prakashananda Saraswati, came to personally bring Mahaprabhu into the assembly, and that gave him some, you can say, some sukriti, the results of devotional activities. Puchila Tomaranam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Kesha Bharatira Sishya Tate Tumidanya. So Mahaprabhu had said he didn't deserve to sit with the sannyasis because he is from a lower order of sannyas. But Prakashananda Saraswati then said, I understand your name is Sri Krishna Chaitanya. You are a disciple of Sri Kesha Bharati, and therefore you are glorious. Sampradayika sannyasi tumi raha egrame se karanayama sabarna kora darshane. You belong to our Shankar Sampradaya and live in our village, Varanasi. Why then do you not associate with us? Why is it that you avoid even seeing us? So why do you keep to yourself? Why are you always hidden from any public view? Why don't you, you're a sannyasi? And externally it appeared that Mahaprabhu had taken sannyas in the Shankar Sampradaya from Kesha Bharati, which is impersonalist sannyas. Actually Mahaprabhu is not in it. We know he's the Lord and he's not at all. His philosophy is always Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He's not an impersonalist. But by external presentation, it appeared he had taken sannyas in the Bharati Sampradaya and was, and that Sampradaya would be normally considered to be impersonalist sannyas. So, sannyasi hoya kora nartanagayan bavuka sab sange loya kora sankirtan. You are a sannyasi. Why do you indulge in chanting and dancing, engaging in your Sankirtan movement in the company of fanatics? Why are you just, sannyasi should be learned. Why you just engage in chanting and dancing like some fanatic? Just chanting and dancing, and that's all you do. You're not engaged in the normal activities of a sannyasi. You're not studying Vedanta Sutra or preaching. You just appear to be only interested in chanting and dancing. Why is that? Vedanta patana jnana sannyasira dharma tahachari korakene babu karma. Meditation, the study of Vedanta, the sole duties of a sannyasi. Why do you abandon these to dance with fanatics? Prabhavedaki etoma sakat narayan hinachara korakene ite ki karan. You look as brilliant as if you were Narayan himself. Will you kindly explain the reason that you have adapted? Will you kindly explain the reason you have adopted the behavior of lower class people? You look as brilliant as if you were Narayan himself. Will you kindly explain the reason that you have adopted the behavior of lower class men? Prabhu Kohe Shuna Sripad Iharakaran Guru Mora Murka Deki Korela Shashan. Mahaprabhu replied to Prakashananda Saraswati, "My dear sir, kindly hear the reason. My spiritual master considered me a fool, and therefore he chastised me." So Mahaprabhu wasn't a fool, obviously. He was known as Nimai Pandit. He was known as a great scholar. But he presents himself this way to answer the criticism of the mayavadi sannyasis, that he says that when he's asked, why do you just chant and dance? Why don't you do the normal activities of a sannyasi? Mahaprabhu said, my spiritual master considered me a fool, and therefore he chastised me. Murka tumi tomar nahika vedantadikar Krishna mantra japasara e mantra sar. You are a fool, he said. You are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy, and therefore you must always chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the essence of all mantras or Vedic hymns. So Mahaprabhu said, my spiritual master considered me to be a fool. So he asked, he said, I'm not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy like all of you who are studying, but I'm not qualified. My spiritual master considered I was a fool. So he told me just always chant the Maha Mantra, always chant the holy names of Krishna, and that will give me all perfection. So, and Krishna mantra hoite khabe samsara mochan Krishna nama hoite pabe Krishna racharan. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can obtain freedom from material existence. Indeed, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one will be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. So Mahaprabhu says that I was instructed just to chant the holy name. And here, Mahaprabhu further comments that my spiritual master said, you are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy, and therefore you must always chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the essence of all mantras or Vedic hymns. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can obtain freedom from material existence. Indeed, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one will be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. Nama binu kali kale nahi aradharma sarva mantra sara nama e shastra marma. In this age of Kali, there is no religious principle other than the chanting of the holy name, which is the essence of all Vedic hymns. This is the purport of all scriptures. So Mahaprabhu was saying, my spiritual master said I was a fool. I'm not qualified to study the Vedanta Sutra, so he asked me just always chant Hare Krishna, and this is giving me. Now he says, in this age of Kali, there's no religious principle other than the chanting of the holy name, which is the essence of all Vedic hymns. This is the purport of all scripture. So he just asked me to chant, and I'm a fool, I shouldn't be studying Vedanta Sutra, so I just proceeded according to the instructions of my spiritual master. Eta boli ek shloka shikaila more kanta koriye shloka Koriya Vichare. After describing the potency of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, my spiritual master taught me another verse, advising me to always keep it within my throat. So he asked me to, he also, along with the Maha Mantra, he quoted one verse. He asked me, he told me about one verse which talks about the Maha Mantra. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasti eva nasti eva gatiranyata. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Nam I eva. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasti eva gatiranyata. For spiritual progress in this age of Kali, there is no alternative, there is no alternative, there is no alternative to the holy name, the holy name, the holy name of the Lord. So in scriptures it says something's repeated 3 times especially to give it emphasis. So here it says, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. There's no other activity that gives such results besides Hare Nama, chanting the holy name of the Lord. Kalo nashteva gatiranyata. That means there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way. So it's repeating, you should chant 3 times, repeating, you should always chant the holy name, and then 3 times it's mentioning, there's no other way, there's no other way, there's no other way for spiritual benefit, especially in this age of Kali. Eagyapaya nama loy anukan, nama loite mora branta hoilaman. Since I received this order from my spiritual master, I always chant the holy name. But I thought that by chanting the holy name, I had been bewildered. I said, I followed my spiritual master's instruction by always chanting the holy name, but I felt something was causing me to become bewildered or affected. Darya Daratinare Hoilama Unmata Asikandinachi Gai Jaiche Maramata. While chanting the holy name of the Lord in pure ecstasy, I lose myself, and thus I laugh, cry, dance, and sing, just like a madman. Tabe Darya Dori Mane Korilum Bichar Krishnaname Janachana Hoilamar. Collecting my patience, therefore, I began to consider that chanting the holy name of Krishna had covered all my spiritual knowledge. So by chanting the holy name, I was becoming very much affected. It was causing me to suddenly start laughing or crying and dancing and singing loudly, and I was wondering what is happening to me. So, collecting my patience, therefore, I began to consider that chanting the holy name of Krishna had covered over all my spiritual knowledge. It seems like chanting the holy name is making me mad or crazy. So, Pagal hoila ami dorya nahi mane eta chinti nivedilun gurur chanane. I saw that I had become mad by chanting the holy name, and I immediately submitted this at the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Kiba mantra dila gosai, kiba tarabal, japite mantra korila pagal. My dear Lord, what kind of mantra have you given me? I have become mad simply by chanting this Maha Mantra. I approached my spiritual master. I said, what kind of a mantra have you given me? I'm chanting it, but I'm becoming crazy. Pago means crazy. I'm becoming very much affected. Hashaya nachaya more koraya krandan etashuni guru hasi bolila bachan. Chanting the holy name in ecstasy causes me to dance, laugh, and cry. When my spiritual master heard all this, he smiled and thus began to speak. Krishnanama Mahamantra Eta Swabhav Jai Jape Tara Krishna Upajaye Bhav It is the nature of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra that anyone who chants it immediately develops his loving ecstasy for Krishna. So that's what's happening. The spiritual master said, this is a good thing, that you're developing symptoms of love of Godhead. This is signs of ecstasy that come when one is chanting purely the holy names. Krishna Vishayaka Prema Parama Purusharta Jarage Trinatuya Chari Purusharta. Religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation are known as the four goals of life. But before love of Godhead, the fifth and highest goal, these appear as insignificant as straw in the street. So, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, these are the normal goals of the Vedas. Religiosity. Dharma, Artha means economic development, or earning money. Dharma, Artha, Kama, sense enjoyment, sense gratification. That comes also supposedly as given in one of the objectives of life in the Vedas. Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Moksha means liberation from material bondage. But here, Mahaprabhu said, before love of Godhead, which comes from chanting the holy name, the fifth and highest goal, these appear as insignificant as straw in the street. Yeah, that earning dharma, religiosity, or earning money, or enjoyment, or liberation, they all seem like they're just very mundane. They're not important, but they're listed. They're normally considered as goals that one should achieve by studying the Vedas. Panchama Purusharta Premanandam Rita Sindhu Mokshadi Ananda Jara Nahi Ek Bindu. For a devotee who has actually developed bhava, the pleasure derived from dharma, artha, kama, and moksha appear like a drop in the presence of the sea. Well, these things are very mundane and they're insignificant compared with what real benefit comes from chanting the holy name of the Lord. Krishna Namar Phala Prema Sarva Shastri Koi Bhage Se Prema Tomai Korila Udai. The culmination, the conclusion of all revealed scriptures is that one should awaken his dormant love of Godhead. One should awaken one's dormant love of Godhead. You are greatly fortunate to have already done so. So Mahaprabhu said, my spiritual master said that one should, the purpose of the conclusion, or what is the success, will be to awaken one's dormant love of Godhead, to achieve some level of love of God in Krishna Prem. And he said, Mahaprabhu says, my spiritual master said that I was very fortunate to have done that without studying all the scriptures and everything. Mahaprabhu said, I had attained these signs which I thought were madness, but which my spiritual master said, no, those are indications of love of Godhead. Premara svabhave kore chitta tanu koba Krishnara charana praptye upajaya loba. It is a characteristic of love of Godhead that by nature it induces transcendental symptoms in one's body and makes one more and more greedy to achieve the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Premara svabhave korichita tanukoba Krishna racharana praptye upajaya loba. It is a characteristic of love of Godhead that by nature induces transcendental symptoms in one's body and makes one more and more greedy to achieve the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Premara svabhave bhakta hase kandegai unmata hoya nache iti utidai. When one actually develops love of Godhead, when one actually develops love of Godhead, one naturally sometimes cries, sometimes laughs, sometimes chants, and sometimes runs here and there just like a madman. Shvedakampa Rama Chashru Gadgara Vaivarnya Shvedakampa Raman Chashru Gadgara Vaivarnya Unmada Vishadadarya Garva Harshadainya Itabhave Premya Bhakta Ganere Nachai Krishnara Anadam Tadamrita Sagare Basai Svedakampa Ramachashu Gadgada Vaivarnya Unmada Vishadadarya Garva Harshadainya Etabhave Prema Bhakta Ganere Nachai Krishnara Anandamrita Sagare Bashai. Perspiration, trembling, standing on end of one's bodily hairs, tears, faltering voice, fading complexion, madness, melancholy, patience, pride, joy, and humility. These are various natural symptoms of ecstatic love of God, which causes a devotee to dance and float in an ocean of transcendental bliss while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Perspiration, trembling, standing on end of one's bodily hairs, tears, faltering voice, fading complexion, madness and melancholy, let's see, patience, pride, joy, and humility. These are various natural symptoms of ecstatic love of Godhead, which causes a devotee to dance and float in an ocean of transcendental bliss while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Perspiration, trembling, standing on end of one's bodily hairs, tears, faltering voice, fading complexion, madness, melancholy, patience, pride, joy, and humility. These are various natural symptoms of ecstatic love of God, which causes a devotee to dance and float in an ocean of transcendental bliss while chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. So this you can say this mixture of so many different ecstatic symptoms will come and then will cause the devotee to dance and become ecstatic. And Mahaprabhu says this is what is happening. It is not that you're becoming mad, it's that you're showing symptoms of love of Godhead, which is Krishna Prema Bhava. All this is happening. Balo hoila pare tumi parama purusharta Tomara Premite Ami Hoilana Kritarta. It is very good, my dear child, that you have attained the supreme goal of life by developing love of Godhead. Thus you have pleased me very much, and I am very much obliged to you. So this is Prabhupada's comment to all his students and to all devotees. And Prabhupada, at the time, he is quite elderly and we are all very young, so he's translating this and directing the remarks to us where he says, it is very good, my dear child, that you have attained the supreme goal of life by developing love of Godhead. Thus you have pleased me very much, and I'm very much obliged to you. The Prabhupada is saying, and is very happy that all these devotees are singing and dancing and developing love of God and developing some appreciation for chanting the holy name. Nacha Gal Bhakta Sanghe Kora Sankirtan Krishna Namu Upadeshe Tara Sarvajan. My dear child, continue dancing, chanting, performing Sankirtan in association with devotees. Further, go out and preach the value of chanting Krishna Nam, for by this process you will be able to deliver all fallen souls. So we could say that this is a little parenthetical, my dear child, but it's Prabhupada affectionately talking to the devotees. My dear child, continue dancing, chanting and performing Sankirtan in association with devotees. Furthermore, go out and preach the value of chanting Krishna Nam, for by this process you will be able to deliver all fallen souls. So Mahaprabhu is telling the mayavadi sannyasis, my spiritual master said I wasn't qualified to just study the Vedanta Sutra. He said, just chant, chant the holy name. So I did so, but then after some time I asked my spiritual master, what kind of a mantra have you given me? Because it's making me crazy. I'm dancing and laughing and sometimes shouting and all these indications that I seem to be becoming mad. And my spiritual master said, no, this is actually love of Godhead. You're developing this, and I'm very happy to hear this. And Mahaprabhu is instructing the mayavadi sannyasis. You ask me why I'm not studying the Vedanta Sutra, and I'm telling you what I am doing. My spiritual master considered me a fool, and I'm not qualified. So I chanted, and then I'm developing love of Godhead, but I was a little confused. I asked him what's happening, and he was very happy to hear that I was developing these symptoms. Ita boli ek shloka shikaila more, Bhagavatera sara e boli bare bare. Saying this, my spiritual master taught me a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the essence of all the Bhagavatam's instructions. Therefore, he recited this verse again and again. Evam vrata svapriyanama kirtya chatanurago druta chitta uchai hasati ato rodati roti gayati unmaravan nrityati lokavayaha. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. He doesn't care who's watching, who's looking, what's going on. He just can't. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, and Krishna's name is non-different from the Lord himself. So then the devotee, in chanting, he loudly chants, he becomes very much emotional, apparently emotional or agitated, and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes disturbed, and chants like a madman, not caring for outsiders, he says. I just become ecstatic. And then Etarabakyami Drita. This is the verse his spiritual master taught him from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam vratasva priyanama kirtya jatanurago druta chituchai hasati ato rodati roti gayati maravan nrityati lokabaya. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated, and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. Etarabhakti amidrita vishvasdhori nirantara Krishna nama sankirtana kori say Krishna nama kabu gau jaya nachai gahinachi nahyami apana ichai. Look there. Look. Oh, he just ran behind his.
What was it?
for the sake of social comment, I'll say it was a very big mouse.
Oh, really? It was outside, though.
Yeah. Etara vakye ami drida vishwas dori nirandara Krishna nama sankirtana kori say Krishna nama kabu gaunchai nachai gahinachi nahiami apana ichai. I firmly believe in these words of my spiritual master, and therefore I always chant the holy name of the Lord, alone and in the association of devotees. That holy name of Lord Krishna sometimes causes me to chant and dance, and therefore I chant and dance. Please do not think that I intentionally do it. I do it automatically. So I believe what my spiritual master has told me, and so I chant the holy name, sometimes by myself, sometimes with other devotees, but and just chanting the holy name causes me to chant and dance. And don't think this is calculated. I do this automatically. I'm not doing it to show off or to disturb other people. This is just the results of chanting the holy name. Krishna Name Jayananda Sindhu Ashvadan Brahmananda Tara Age Katodakasam Krishna Name Jayananda Sindhu Ashvadan Brahmanda Tara Age Katodakasam. Compared to the ocean of transcendental bliss that one tastes by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the pleasure derived from impersonal Brahman realization, Ramananda, is like the shallow water in a canal. There's no comparison between a shallow canal and the ocean. It's like the ocean of transcendental happiness, which I experienced by chanting. There's nothing that compares with that. Tvat sakat kanana lada vishudabdi stitashame sukani goshparayante brahmani api jagadguru. My dear Lord, O Master of the universe, since I have directly seen you, my transcendental bliss has taken the shape of a great ocean. Being situated in that ocean, I now realize all other so-called happiness to be like the water contained in the hoofprint of a calf. Prabhura Mishta Bhakya Shuni Sannyasi Ragan Chittafirigela Kohe Madhura Vachan. After hearing Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the mayavadi sannyasis were moved. Their minds changed, and thus they spoke with pleasing words. Jai Kichu Kohile Tume Saba Satya Hoy Krishna Prema Se Pai Jara Bhagyadoy. Dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what you have said is all true. Only one who is favored by fortune attains love of Godhead. So they say, yes, you have attained love of Godhead, and that is very great. But then they continue, Krishna Bhakti Kora Ihai Sabar Santosh Vedantana Shunakene Taraki Badosh. Dear sir, there is no objection to your being a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Everyone is satisfied with this. But why do you avoid discussion on the Vedanta Sutra? What is the fault in it? So why they're asking like this? Because they see that Mahaprabhu is developing love of Godhead. But this question indicates, well, are we doing something wrong? So, dear sir, there is no objection to your being a great devotee of Lord Krishna. Everyone is satisfied with this. But why do you avoid discussion on the Vedanta Sutra? What is the fault in it? So then Mahaprabhu is going to comment, and his comments will be very significant. Eta shuni hase Prabhu bolela bachan dukana manaha jadi korani bedan. After hearing the mayavadi sannyasis speak in that way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu smiled slightly and said, "My dear sirs, if you don't mind, I can say something to you regarding Vedanta philosophy. Since you're asking, don't take my offense, but I will comment something about this." Okay. Ihashuni bole sarva sanyaseragan tomake dekiye jaiche sakat narayan. Hearing this, the mayavadi sannyasis became somewhat humble and addressed Lord Chaitanya as Narayan himself, who they all agreed he was. So they're seeing something in Mahaprabhu, and therefore they're becoming humble, and they're inquiring. Tomara vachana shuni judai shravan, tomara madhuri deki judai nayan. Dear Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they said, to tell you the truth, we are greatly pleased to hear your words. And furthermore, your bodily features are so pleasing that we feel extraordinary satisfaction in seeing you. Tomara prabhave sabar ananditaman kabu asangata nahi tomara vachan. Dear sir, by your influence our minds are greatly satisfied, and we believe that your words will never be unreasonable. Therefore, you may speak on the Vedanta Sutra. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue. This chapter is very wonderful. It's a very nice chapter. Okay.
Tomorrow we get to find out what he tells them.
Huh?
Tomorrow we get to find out what he tells them.
Yes. No doubt we'll continue. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama. Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama. Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama. Jaravaya Maravaya Keshavaya Nama. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra. Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Rasa Raghunath. Echai Gosai Kori Janana Bandhan. Echai Gosai Kori Janana Bandhan. Jao Ite Vignana Shabishta Puran. Jao Ite Vignana Shabishta Puran. Echai Gosai Jar Murita. Kasavar Padarenu Mora Panchagras, Kasavar Padarenu Mora Panchagras, Padar Chanana Sevi Bhakta Sanimas, Padar Chanana Sevi Bhakta Sanimas, Janame Janame More Abinas, Janame Janame More Abinas, Echai Gosai Jabe Branje Koilabas, Chai Gosai Jabe Branje Koilabas, Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash, Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash, Anande Bolo Hari Vaja Binyaman, Anande Bolo Hari Vaja Binyaman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Aman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyas, Hare Nam Sankirtana Kohai Naratamodas, Hare Nam Sankirtana Kohai Naratamodas, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilak Nehriya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sada Shri Shimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sada Shri Shimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Prem se go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Vishvabaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.